It is 6:30, so I will call the meeting to order. As we get started, our previous clerk is no longer with us, so as we get started, I will appoint Jerry Robichaud as our acting clerk until such time as we elect a clerk in just a few minutes. So we start with the determination of the quorum, Mr. Clerk.
We have a quorum with 4 new board members.
Excellent. And so next item is to stand for a rise with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is up to our right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So our first item is to approve the agenda. You see the agenda in front of you. I have no suggestions at this time for amending it. So I'll entertain a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Moved by Richard.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. This brings us to our first item of business, which is that we have 4 newly elected, 2 returning board members and 2 new board members. So we're going to rise. If you guys could rise and raise your right hand. They want to take a couple of pictures of our new board members as they do this. Well, but no, everybody has to, it says here everybody has to do the oath. So you have to do the oath, but you don't get your picture, sorry. Sorry, you got to say the oath, but you don't get the thing. All right, so I'll read the words, and if you guys would just repeat after me as I read this out. So, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and faithfully discharge the duties of my office according to law, and the best of my ability and understanding. So help me God. And that is it. Thank you, guys. That makes you official. I have a little sadness because I'm missing 2 board members who I'd come to respect, but I'm so excited to have Chad Wolf and Andrea Vogelsberg joining us, particularly 2 people with kids in our schools who have put so much of their time into our schools even before they were board members. I'm just excited to have you both, so welcome, and thank you for joining us and all the things you've done for our schools and all the things I know that you'll continue to work with us on. So thank you guys very much. So this brings us to item 1C, the election of officers. Unlike some past years, we have not at any board meeting had a discussion of who might be willing to serve as officers. I did that somewhat on purpose because we have 2 new board members, and I wanted to make sure that they were around for any conversation so that they felt like if anything was getting discussed about who board members, officers on the board might be, that they were involved in that conversation as well. So I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure who's going to serve in these positions, but we'll start off. It begins with the election of the officer of the chair of the board. So I'm happy to entertain any nominations for chair of the board.
I would nominate Jason to be chair of the board another year.
Thank you, Yvette. I will accept the nomination. I am happy to do so for another year if there's anybody else who has any desires to do so. I'm happy to entertain other nominations.
Go for it 3 times.
3 times? Was that 2? Are there any other nominations for chair of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And that brings us to vice chair. I will entertain motions for vice chair of the Faribault School Board. For those who might not know, that position has been filled.
Chair, we
Please.
probably voted on closing the nominations. We haven't voted on the nomination of the chair yet, so we
Thank
must
you,
make it
Mr.
official.
Acting Clerk.
Excellent, Mr.
I guess that closes nominations for chair, which means next now I call for, Mr. Clerk, do we endorse the
You
nomination?
actually call nominations closed, and so now you will ask for a motion to unanimously approve Mr. Engelbert as the chair.
Is there a motion to unanimously approve Jason Engbert as chair?
So moved.
So moved.
It's like a race.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is the good side of it. This is the good.
We have a motion and a second to unanimously approve Jason Engbert as chair of the Faribault School Board. All those in favor signify by saying
Say
aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Acting Clerk, Mr. Robichaud. Sorry, Dr. Robichaud.
That's all right.
Helping us through that. Which brings us then to Vice Chair. This is a role, for those who may not know, that has been filled for the past year by Tom Casper. I will entertain nominations for the Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board for the next school year.
I would enter in the name of Tom Casper as the vice chair.
I'll ask just to make sure. Tom, will you accept the
Absolutely
nomination?
honored to accept.
Are there other nominations for Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board? Are there other nominations for the Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board? I think that's three. So I will entertain a motion to close nominations for Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close nominations for the Faribault, Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And so I will ask for a motion to unanimously approve Tom Casper as a Vice Chair of the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
Second. A motion and a second. Jen? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you all.
And that brings us to clerk, a position that has been filled by Howard Bodie for the last few years. So this is not a position that will be continued to be filled by its past office holder. So I will entertain any nominations for clerk of the Faribault School Board.
Chair, I'd like to nominate myself for clerk.
Okay. Any other nominations for clerk of the Faribault School Board? Any other nominations for clerk of the Faribault School Board? That was 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. All right. I will entertain a motion to close nominations for clerk of the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to close nominations for clerk of the Faribault School Board. So now I will entertain, we have a motion and a second. We have not voted on it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So now I will entertain a motion to unanimously approve our Richard Olson for clerk of the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve unanimously Richard Olson as clerk of the Faribault School Board. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And that brings us to treasurer, a position that has been filled by Yvette Marthaler. I will entertain any nominations for treasurer of the Faribault School Board.
I'd like to nominate Yvette. Seat over Tom. Yvette. Thank Tom.
You confirm, Yvette, or you want to accept the nomination? All right, so that is going to accept the nomination.
I apologize. Oh, are you looking for a second?
No, I don't need
Oh,
a first or second. No, we have a nomination. She accepted it.
All right,
I just didn't know what you were apologizing for.
I'm sorry, we were,
Just being in the way.
I was
Just
off task, I apologize.
being disruptive.
Are there any further nominations for treasurer of the Faribault School Board? Are there any further nominations for treasurer of the Faribault School Board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close nominations for the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And so I will entertain a motion to unanimously approve Yvette Marthaler as treasurer of the Faribault School Board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
A motion and a second to approve Yvette Marthaler as the treasurer of the Faribault School Board. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And motion carries. All right. Thank you all very much, and thank you for all of those willing to serve in those officer positions. So it seems like Jerry has already handed off the
I have.
materials. He was on top of that.
The sole pen that I have is 10 pounds.
Love it.
Excellent. All right.
Is somebody taking notes too over there?
Yeah, I think we have
Okay.
Nicole and Todd are
Okay.
doing
Wasn't
some
it the
thank
role of
yous
the
for us.
clerk to take notes?
Only on votes, it's been historically, you know this, what do you meant?
I thought maybe as a new role. to take
We
notes.
should add that.
Oh,
All right.
we're losing already. We're losing it.
This brings us to committee assignments, and there are a number of those. Let me find those from previous years. Well, here I have the printout, and I simultaneously look at those from last year as well. Let me get that up. All board members are asked to serve on a number of committees which have differing levels of commitment attached to them. And so we'll go through these one by one, and in particular, we would ask our new members. Hopefully, you've had a little time to look at those, but please take your time now, and we are willing to help you understand what any of the committees are and what the commitments are for them, so that we can get you in the right place and have you fully participating in the board work this upcoming year. So to go through these, we start with the Finance Committee. This has been Yvette Marthaler, Howard Bodie, and Richard Olson in the past year. And typically the way this works is we simply ask for interest from board members, and we're going to then put those names down one by one for each of these positions. Todd, Nicole, would one of you sort of keep track as we go through these positions as to who's expressing interest? So I think Yvette will need to be on the Finance Committee as treasurer of the school board. But that leaves two positions then for those expressing interest.
I would like to volunteer again for the finance.
Okay, so Richard has an interest in being on the Finance Committee. Are there others? Chad Wolf would also like to be on the Finance Committee. Are there others with an interest? We are limited to 3, but if there's more interest, then we can discuss who might serve. But it looks like 3 is what I'm seeing, so that's great. So I think all 3 can expect them to be on the Finance Committee. Schools and equity in education. Jerry, would you mind saying, just so you've served on that, would you mind saying just a couple words about what that is, and let us
Sure.
know if you're willing to serve on it?
That's one of our groups, and answer your second question, yes, I can be willing to serve on that. But it's a lobbying group, and Todd has been actively involved in this group for years as well. But it's a membership of 30-some districts across the state of Minnesota that develop lobbying efforts on behalf of schools of comparable size educational needs that Faribault has. So they meet once a month in different locations. Owatonna is a member, Northfield's a member. Some of our other neighboring districts are also members, but it's pretty much a lobbying group. educational lobbying.
And these districts are similar in size? Are they also
Yes.
similar in sort of location of being
Uh,
somewhat rural?
No, well, they're all
Somewhere
rural. I don't think
Okay.
we have any metropolitan school
We
districts.
Right.
we actually got a couple metropolitan schools now
Okay.
this last couple of years
All right,
that
so
are on the,
Rosemont Apple Valley's a member, yeah.
yep, they have been.
Okay, so there's a
But-
little more metropolitan, but most of the others
It
are
pretty
rural
much is
districts.
at the 7-county metropolitan area, so.
Okay, So, thank you, Jerry, for being willing to continue serving on that important committee. The Insurance Committee, Richard, you've been on that. Would you mind saying a little bit about that committee for our new members? And
It's incredibly boring.
It's quite the sales job, Richard.
Yeah, okay. No, it's we're dealing with health insurance and liability insurance in the district. Maybe maximum 2 meetings a year. But you get there's a lot of information, especially on health insurance. I've been on it for a few years, and I will pass on the insurance. Give it to somebody else to take. But it's a learning situation. You know, our health insurance is increasing, what, 9-10% a year. They're trying to keep that cost under control. Also, there's a tie-in with the Wellness Committee. You know, make sure we keep our staff healthy, from the superintendent on down.
On up.
Up.
So just to clarify, Richard, you're
I'm
not
gonna pass
particularly
on.
interested in
Right,
continuing on that
I'll
committee, and
pass.
obviously Deb Davis, who was on the committee as well, is not on the board anymore, and so we don't need, there were 2 members on this committee, but I don't think there's any need for 2 members on this committee, is that?
I was the only one that actually,
One board member could be on this committee,
Yeah,
but we
yeah,
should
and-
have 1 board member. Is there someone willing to serve
Yep.
on the insurance committee?
yeah, Deb Davis didn't show up, you know, with schedules and stuff, you know, it was like 3:30. It met 3:30 to 5, but it's only 1 or 2 meetings a year.
Yeah, it's a
That's
pretty
it.
small commitment.
That's,
It's not a,
that's totally max.
Yep.
So,
do we have any interested parties to serve on the insurance committee?
I can certainly do that. I have an insurance background, so I
Oh.
think that would be
and that would fit in.
something easy
that would
to
fit in,
slide
yes.
into maybe.
That's great.
Yep,
And you want the
absolutely.
board.
And I want, yeah, all right. Oh my God.
So we'll
Insurance
put
is so
Audrey over
exciting.
Yeah.
for the insurance committee. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. This brings us to policy committee. Deb Davis and Jerry Robershaw have spent the last year on that committee. Jerry, again, if you would mind saying just a little bit about what that committee is and what it does?
Well, the policy committee meets once a month to review existing policies, any new policies that come up, and then present to the board for their consideration any of the additions or corrections or revisions that are taking place. And then, of course, it's laid over for 2 weeks, but it's basically to review the policies before they come forward to the board.
And I'll just add, previously I'd served a number of years on the policy committee myself, and I would say it's a committee that often is just sort of a formality of policies that we simply have to keep up to date. And, but then it seems like once or twice a year, a policy comes up that suddenly it's important and everybody's watching it. It impacts a number of people, and so it becomes exciting a couple of times a year with some policies that people are looking at carefully. So I'll ask Jerry if you have an interest in continuing to serve on that committee.
I would continue if nobody else is interested, but I would certainly invite others interested. It is a way to understand the dynamics of the district by looking at the policies.
So is there an interest in board members to serve on the policy committee? You know, something else I guess I would say as we go through, typically the policy committee and the finance committee have been the large committees.
And you guys have
served-
2 board members on that.
that we really should have 2 board members on. And we also have added very recently the curriculum committee as well, that I would put up on that. Though these are the committees that meet monthly. Most of the other committees are much smaller, meet only a few times a year. So this is one of our important committees. There's a number of them listed here. You might not get a sense of which ones meet on a regular basis, but the policy committee is one of those that meets regularly and does important work for the district. So it's important for us to have 2 members. So do we?
4:30.
Yeah, usually 4:30. 4:30 to 5:30, try to get it out.
Or 4:30 to 4:45.
Yeah, that was last one's frequent.
If you want to on
Yeah.
Jerry, I'll join that if nobody else is interested in it.
Are there others interested?
I certainly can, if you don't mind true newbies, or,
No, not at all.
You know.
But I want you to be.
And I
Good for the
because I
first
know
year
Jerry
when
said
I
he'd
learned.
prefer
No, I
to
think
step
it's
down.
great to have
If
fun.
somebody else is interested, certainly, but if nobody else is, I'll certainly continue,
So,
but
I
if
mean,
they're interested, certainly it's perfectly okay.
No,
You can, and I don't have to, so it's all yours.
yeah,
We
I'm
can
fine
go up
with
to
that.
3
It
members.
doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, 3 members can
Besides three
serve
members,
like the
absolutely.
finance, so. so
We
it's
can't go
actually
over 3 because then we have a quorum, but we
quorum,
can-
right, yeah.
Right.
Um,
So
but I
very
think Jerry is
important.
expressing, if I don't want to interrupt, but you're
I know.
expressing if there were 2 other members. that
Yes,
you're
if there are
not-
2 other members interested,
That you're
certainly.
not, and typically, we have not had board members serving on 2 of those 3 big committees, but I don't mean to imply that they couldn't chat, so.
No, that's
I don't think that's happened since I've been here, but I don't mean to imply that it shouldn't or couldn't happen. I don't know that there's a reason behind that tradition other than we try to spread those out.
Right.
I think it's good for all of us to serve on one of these
Yeah.
these bigger committees, so. So I know Andrea's interested. I'm not sure then who I'm putting down with Andrea. I'm still unclear on that one.
Go, Jerry.
the guy in the red.
That's you, Jerry. You look like-
Okay, I'll continue.
Okay, so we'll have Andrea and Jerry Robichaud continuing on the policy committee. All right, thank you both, I appreciate your willingness to serve. This brings us to some cooperative agreements. None of these meet very often. These are a number of organizations that we have with, often with the city and with some different associations, sports associations in the, within the community as well. And so these typically, again, only meet a few times a year, if that. And so in the past year, Yvette has served for Alexander Park. Are you,
Well, I would certainly let someone who has a little interest in that park and area fill in. If we met once last year. It was very interesting to talk about what's going on at the park.
I can do that.
Chad is going to serve on that committee?
You're
Alexander
welcome.
Park. The ice arena is the next one. I have served on that for the last year. I would actually be interested in having someone else serve on that committee. I've done it now for a couple of years. And I do not have any children who play hockey of any sort. I don't know that anybody on the board does at this moment. But I also have a bigger commitment to the soccer committee because that is where my kids are playing. So is there an interest in someone else taking over for the ice arena for that committee?
Well, I could do the ice arena.
Thank you, Yvette, I appreciate that. So we'll put Yvette Marthaler on the ice arena, which brings us to the soccer committee, which I have served on and Richard has served on.
I'll give that up.
I'm happy to continue serving in that, on that committee. Is there somebody else who would like to? We need 2 members from the Faribault School. Actually, this one I know requires 2,
I think it's 2 voting members, or
2 voting members, and so we have, although I don't know that those need to be both board members, but they can be. But this is one where I think, because of the way it got set up and the agreement on how many voting people there are, it would be nice to have 2 board members. I think this one maybe meets, I'm not sure it meets twice a year, actually. I think unless something weird is going on, I think it meets once a year, so it's a low commitment one.
I can do that. I'm already
Andrea's
doing
willing to serve?
soccer all the time anyways, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Unless somebody else
So unless there's
really
other
wants
interest,
to.
then Andrea and myself will serve on the soccer committee. Thank you, Andrea.
Mhm.
The State High School League was being served by Howard Bodie. So he's not here to tell us a little bit about that. Todd, do you want to say a little bit about what the State High School League is, how often it might meet? I don't know that one.
we meet as a region probably 2 or 3 times a year, and then Ken gives that information to Howard or whoever through an email of all the different updates. The policies change once a year for the State High School League, so once to present and then go through what the new proposals are, then the second one is usually when the proposals are. Yep, and normally working pretty closely with Ken.
I would have an interest in serving in that capacity.
Okay, so Jerry's expressing an interest, unless I'm hearing from others. We'll put Jerry Robichaud down for the State High School League Cooperative Agreement. Okay, this brings us to the Wellness Committee, which Deb and Yvette have served on. So Yvette, would you be willing to say just a little bit about the Wellness Committee?
Sure, we meet monthly except in the summer, and it's sort of half of it is employee wellness discussions and plans, and half of it is student wellness plans and organizing events for students. So it's a very good committee, and I would be interested in being on it again if no one else. We meet
Mr. Chair, I'd like
3:30
to
on
put my
first
name in
Wednesday.
too for the wellness.
Okay. So Richard has an expression to be on the Wellness, and Yvette, you said you're willing to serve. Are there any others with an interest in serving on the Wellness Committee? All right. Hearing none, we'll put Richard down and Yvette down. Thank you both.
Our first meeting is Wednesday, just so you know. Wednesday at 3:30, if you can make it. If you can't make it.
No
It's pretty quick
take-backs now,
notice.
though.
Hold it here, hold it. Did you send me email, Todd?
What's that? Anne Marie. Did she send it to you?
No, I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, he wasn't on the
Oh, I
committee
didn't
until
send
about
one.
30 seconds ago, so I don't think he got the email, but.
I'll try to remember.
I'll try to remember to.
You email me, sorry.
All right, thank you both. That brings us curriculum committee. Tom and myself have served on the committee. Tom, do you want to say a little bit about the intent of the curriculum committee? This is one of our newer committees, one of our newer major committees, I'd say.
Yeah,
We've had for 2
it
years
was
now.
reestablished after a number of years of obscurity or whatever. But we've been informed about curricular initiatives, the technology plan, the recent plan, our ESL, and now I'm gonna mangle the term,
The one that Sam proposed?
Integration? Is that what
well, no,
it is?
the
Welcome program?
The welcome, the newcomers program.
Newcomers program, that's it.
I found it, yes. Anyway, we've been informed about those, we've been informed about and gone over test scores, state reports and that sort of thing. It is my hope that we will continue to do those things as well as be a little bit more proactive, at least that's going to be my hope that we can look at where we still need to go to improve instruction here in Faribault. Now, I'm not criticizing what we have, I'm just saying that there's always room for improvement.
I'll express that I'm interested in continuing to serve on the curriculum committee.
I would like to continue as well.
As Tom, I'm really excited to see if we can grow that committee into a powerful force for ways to improve the curriculum. So if Tom and I are interested, it can have up to 3, so if there was another interested party, we could add that. A monthly?
Usually in the afternoon.
Yes, usually around the 3:30-ish meeting.
Not this time.
I'd have an interest.
Right. So let's put then Tom Casper, Chad Wolf, and myself will be on the curriculum committee. Just looking for the nod. Okay, great.
What day is it typically?
It's typically going to be on the Monday, well, in a perfect world, it's going to be on a Monday between our work session and our work meeting, our business meeting. But those sometimes slop around, so it doesn't always.
And I believe the next meeting is a week from tonight, or in the afternoon.
We don't do finance, or start at 7:30.
We're trying to do it on the same night if we can.
The
so
same day
we
as
don't-
finance. The idea is to try and have it a week ahead of the business meeting so that if there's some approval of an item that has to be approved at the business meeting that we have, we're discussing it a week ahead of that meeting. Schedules don't always allow for that to happen, but that's the idea. All right. We also have a superintendent evaluation committee. We just finished that up this year. So the work of that committee happens towards the end of the summer, the beginning of the school year is when it will happen this upcoming year. Tom and myself and Jerry have served on that this past year. I'm happy to continue in that capacity. Are there other interested parties? I think it's a good place to have 3 board members on, so I would like 2 others.
I would express an interest to continue.
As would I.
Okay, so
I find it
Jerry
a
and Tom and
very,
myself are still interested, so
Interesting
that is
experience.
appropriate for the board to stay there. And just to let everyone know is that that is a process where everyone participates in it, and the idea is for Tom and Jerry and I to sort of lead the process. It's not that we do the evaluation. Many people are involved in the evaluation, and that gets approved by the entire board. So everyone is involved, in fact, involved in that evaluation. It's an important role of the board to do that. The Community Ed Advisory Council, Jerry and Tom have served on that. Do either one of you want to say a little bit about that, and then let us know if you're interested in continuing to serve?
It's been, I think, my time on this council has been very interesting. I think we have a growing and active community ed program. Anna Marie has done, in my opinion, an outstanding job. The meetings have been keeping us informed regarding changes in adult basic ed, the growth of the program, the needs of the programs that, that we need to be cognizant of. And I find it to be a very interesting group to be a part of, and I would volunteer again.
Unless somebody else has an interest, I would continue to participate on it.
Is there another interest? Not seeing any, we'll put Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
It's hard to not laugh every time I say
Which one's
that,
the cat, which one's the mouse?
Tomcat.
because we're all on the superintendent evaluation committee. Every time I tell my wife I'm meeting with Tom and Jerry.
And it's appropriate as to how.
Yeah.
It's the holiday season.
Excellent. So then we have a slate of,
Chair?
yes.
And I'd like to point out, on the second list, we do have to add an additional group up for negotiations. It's not on the first list. but-
Thank you. Yep, thank you very much. Did I miss it someplace? Is it on here?
Not on there.
It's not on here now, but we do need to choose a negotiation committee. We have at times done this. Nicole, would you say a little bit about the timing of when we expect the next round of negotiations to begin?
The teacher negotiations generally start towards the end of the school year, every 2 years. So we'll be starting the 15-17 negotiation round, probably April, May, somewhere around there.
So this is not a committee we have every year because we negotiate contracts every 2 years with our teachers. Typically, the board is the most heavily involved in negotiation with the teachers. And then for each of the other contracts, we give some advice on how we want our Human Resources Department, or Nicole and Todd, to proceed on the others, and we need them, let them lead the negotiation on those, but we're more actively involved in the teacher negotiations. In the last round of negotiations, my memory says that Jerry and Tom and Howard Bodie were involved. I think it's a good committee to have 3 board members involved. So I'll begin by asking if our previous negotiators are interested or willing to
I would be
serve.
very interested in participating again.
I will continue also, and I think it needs to be said that Nicole is the one who really does most of the negotiating. And she's the one who's out there in the front lines. And Tim's pretty nice to her, for the most part, and so is Jeannie. But if it wasn't for Nicole, I would probably not want to participate, but she's the one who really has done the yeoman work on this.
I agree.
Thank you.
I have an interest in participating in that.
Yvette would like you to be interested in that? All right, so I have interest from Jerry and Tom and Yvette, if I'm hearing that correctly. As board chair, I think that's a good group. So there's no further discussion. We'll add that to the slate. So we have a slate in front of us of the number of committees we go through. I don't have all the names in front of me, but would you, Nicole or Todd, would one of you mind quickly sort of running through the names in each of those committees and make sure it matches up with what each of us remember hearing our name being attached to? And then we'll vote to approve that slate of committee members.
Okay. The Finance Committee, we have Yvette, Richard, and Chad. For the Schools for Equity in Education is Jerry. Insurance Committee, Andrea. Negotiations Committee, Tom, Jerry, and Yvette. Policy Committee, Jerry and Andrea. For the Cooperative Agreements, Alexander Park, Chad. Ice Arena, Yvette. Soccer Committee, Jason and Andrea. State High School School League, Jerry. Wellness Committee, Yvette and Richard. Curriculum Committee, Jason, Tom, and Chad. Superintendent Evaluation Committee, Jason, Jerry, and Tom. And the Community Education Advisory Council, Tom and Jerry.
Excellent. Does that sound appropriate to what everybody remembers from that? Thank you. So with that reading, then, I will entertain a motion to approve the committee appointments as just read.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve the committee assignments as just read. Any discussion on these items? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. This brings us to a schedule of meetings. Let me bring that up. Todd, do you want to say a little bit about this? I know you had, for February in particular, there was kind of a question mark because of some complications with dates.
Yeah,
You
actually,
might see it highlighted in red. We don't typically meet on a Tuesday. It also looks like on September 8th, there's a Tuesday on there. These are not typical meeting times for the board. Would you like to say a little bit about how those dates came about?
you bet. Looking at, first of all, the month of February, the regular board meeting in January is the last Monday in January, the 26th. So normally we try to get a week between there before our next work session, which would be the 9th. That's the work session. President's Day is on the 16th, so we can't have a meeting on the 16th. And then I'm actually out of town on the 23rd and the 24th. So one suggestion would be to have the meeting, the 24th is on there, but that doesn't work very well for me. The one meeting, the 9th, would be, if you want to do a work session combo with the regular board meeting, that night would work. Then you'd have the same.
Was there a different Tuesday that worked? Other than
The 10th would work, yes. What, that
I just
makes
think
sense.
having a business meeting on the 26th and again on the 9th is going to be pretty
Or
close.
yep, yeah, again, or the only other thing that I can think of would be, you don't want to really do a Wednesday night meeting, that's hard
No.
with religion.
Yeah, I don't.
The only other thing that you could do would be a Thursday meeting on the 26th.
26th. What are board thoughts on those possibilities?
How about the day after Martin Luther King? Whatever that,
That's January,
oh,
so we have,
oh,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, President's Day is the 17th, so that would,
yeah, the day after President's Day.
That's the 18th?
17th
17th.
is the day after President's Day, yep.
17th is the day after President's Day. How does that work?
That works fine. You have the work session on the 9th?
But
Yeah.
superintendent's more important.
Right, that's,
I don't know about that.
I mean, I'm not sure of that, but
I would question it.
maybe you're right, yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
mean, if
17th
everyone
works
else
too.
can make it,
Right,
I
yeah.
could understand.
Does that seem, so that would be the 17th,
Mhm.
a Tuesday? I think,
For the public,
Yeah,
I'd
the
rather
18th.
have a different
That's the
meeting than
18th.
have it
Then
right
have it
around the work session.
combined with the work session, yeah, and I think my other concern is when you put them together, then there's, both it's a little quick, so you don't really have time, there won't be much new on that second meeting, but then there's a long time between that meeting and the next one, and sometimes we run into issues where things have to happen quickly and with a long break, or where we could run into trouble if we're not careful. So I prefer the 17th. I think as a board, we always try to meet on Mondays as much as we can to keep things consistent, but sometimes we run into concerns. So that would be this Tuesday, the 17th? Is that?
Yep.
I think that's okay with the board. And then there was one in September. Do you have a sense of what the September 8th on Tuesday was?
That
September
was,
7th is Labor Day.
September 7th, I think, is Labor Day. It's late this year. So the 8th is a Tuesday. If you wanted to do a work session in September, that made the most sense, I guess.
So that's the first day of school?
That'd be the
That's
first day of school.
Yep.
Is there a reason not to do it on the 14th, which would be the following Monday?
No, I think that's fine too.
Because I would prefer to keep it on a Monday. I think that's when people expect it.
Yeah, nothing.
That's my own preference. What's the feeling of the board?
And I'm just looking at
Long as
you
there's-
could do, because they're, let's see, 14th, that's pretty good turnout, yep. 14th
Also,
and
you know, when the first week of school starts, it's not uncommon that there's an issue that crops up. A class size is sometimes larger than we expected. It happened this year. And if we meet the day classes start, we may not have the information we need to make a decision. So making sure there's a week after classes start to have a work session so that we can discuss it, and then the following week, any beginning of the year items that crop up, I think we're better prepared for it. So if the 14th works, that would be my suggestion. Okay, so we'll put Monday the 14th for our September work session meeting. And then there are not times for regular meetings on this right now. We have typically done work sessions at 5:30 and regular meetings at 6:30. And Todd mentioned to me that there was a request for us to consider whether or not we might be willing to move that time. So I'll let you, Todd, sort of explain what that question was, and then the board can discuss how what our
Yeah.
thoughts are on it.
One of the issues that we had, and both Deb and I ran into this, I'm sure you guys did too, is that normally the concerts are Monday night, and I've only seen like one concert since I've been here because I've always had a board meeting that night. By moving the board meetings a little bit earlier, then we could make some of those evening events too. That was the only reason for that piece.
Conflicts for those who.
So this is an issue here, are you thinking 5:30, 5?
5, something like that, yeah.
This year I've been lucky, but last year I had 3 conflicts with my daughter being in a concert
Yep.
at the same time as a board meeting, and so then I'm in an awkward position of trying to choose what my commitments are.
Are those typically live on TV, or are they delayed? I mean,
What's that?
the board meetings, when they're on FCTV?
The regular board meetings are live. Yep. And the other ones are taped. No, not, the work sessions are not taped.
They're live, but they are also typically taped and rerun as well.
No, but I mean, I'm definitely in favor of starting earlier so that people can attend their kids' concerts, and that's important stuff. So.
Would 6 o'clock be a suggestion? I'm open to any numbers. I'm sort of throwing out a number for a discussion.
5:30 is fine with me.
Yeah, 5:30 is even. Anybody?
Is there any concern? I'm not expressing that I have one. I just want to make sure. Is there any concern that somehow being at 5:30 instead of 6:30 is less open to the public? You know, we hold these meetings in the public, so they're available to the public. It's not obvious to me there's a concern, but that would be, you know, before we decide to do it, let's make sure that we've,
Actually, it's better because 5:30, 6:30, now it's one time.
yeah, everything's at
5:30,
5:30.
6:30, now it's possibly 5:30. I have no problem with it personally. So. In fact, it's probably better, you know, that 5:30.
We're always meeting at 5:30. Are there
5:30.
any concerns with 5:30 before we, I'm feeling like I'm hearing we're okay with that, but I don't want to. It'll be, it's always been at 6:30, so I don't know. I feel like it's a big change. So I'm, wow, a different time. But
I don't know if my body clock will adjust to that.
Right?
what was that?
My body clock will adjust to that.
And I won't be ready for the meeting.
When we get dinner.
It'll take us an hour to get rolling. But, all right, so I'm hearing that we're okay with 5:30. I think both for staff who have to be here and for some of us on the board, a number of us have kids who are going to be in those sort of concerts now and in upcoming year. I think it's good for all of those involved. So we'll put that as 5:30 on here. So I think then what we're looking to approve here, just to make sure we're clear on it, is the schedule of meetings as you have in front of you, with the regular board meetings meeting at 5:30. That's not on here, so that's a difference. Remind me, instead of February 24th, we would be meeting on the 17th. which is also a Tuesday.
Yep.
And then we would be meeting on September 14th instead of September 8th as listed on here. Those are the corrections I remember. Does that match with everybody else's? Okay. So with those changes to what's on here, I will entertain a motion to approve the schedule of meetings for the 2015 year. So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2015 schedule of meetings as shown and discussed. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And I guess I was not studying the agenda carefully enough, because I look at the next agenda item, and it's to talk about the beginning of meeting times, but I think we did that with the schedule, so I'm going to skip over this.
Mr. Chair, can I would suggest, though, that very definite public relations communication out there about that change as a starting time. If it's a letter from you, Todd, into the daily news, or however we get that message out there that our starting time is changing, which for some people will be significant.
It's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I think that's right, and maybe even just a quick note directly to the editor if she wants to write a little blurb about it someplace to let people know. I don't see a reporter here this evening, and I don't know if it won't be broadcast live because we're in the middle school. So just alerting them that that'll be a new time for those who have planned on that for a number of years and come at times. I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Jerry. Okay, this brings us to item G, school board salaries. Last year, the salaries were at $250 per month for the directors and $275 per month for the board chairperson. This is actually lower than when I came on the board. It got reduced a couple of times. We went a year without salaries during some difficult times, and then reinstated these salaries last year to match what they were before the board went without salaries. So that's the historical context, at least for in my time on the board, the last 6 years of what these salaries were. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the salaries as shown.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Chair, I will be voting against the motion because I do not believe that we should be compensated. That's my own personal opinion. There was a mix-up last year, and I will be donating my salary to the scholarship fund, but I will be voting against the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud. Any other questions or comments on this item? Further discussion? All right, hearing none, Mr. Clerk, I'm going to ask you to do a roll call.
Oh,
I'll give you a moment to, if you're ready. Do you have the members in alphabetical order?
no, I'm gonna have to fake this.
Fake it.
Do your best.
We'll be okay if we don't do it in the
Okay, hold it here.
Howard Bodie order for.
Give me a second here, Mr.
Take
Chair.
your time, take your time. Let me know when you're ready, and then I'll call for them. Oh, here we go, Richard, we have.
Oh,
It's much easier than we were making it on. here.
okay.
Oh, look at that. Kathy is so good.
Kathy was prepared if the rest of us
Okay,
weren't.
great, okay.
Yeah.
Tom,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Yvette,
Aye.
myself, I, Jerry.
No.
It's Andrea,
Aye.
and Chad over there.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 6-1.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Where are we next? School assignments, item H. So we have traditionally, in the Faribault Public Schools, assigned a board member to each of the schools to be a liaison to the schools. It's not a role of responsibility. It does not put you in charge of the school district, the schools in any sort of way. but it's meant to create connections between the board and schools and the district so that we all are as aware as we can be about what is going on at the various schools. We have not formalized the expectations of that roles. We've had a number of discussions about what those roles should encompass over the years, and I'm happy to have discussion tonight with new board members about what those roles might include for board members. But there is not a formal expectation for this role about a number of times to be there. It's left to individual board members to try and sort that out with the school. Last year, just to read off who was with which schools last year, Jerry Robichaud was at Jefferson Elementary, Howard Bodie was at Lincoln Elementary, I was at Roosevelt, Richard Olson was at the middle school, Deb Davis was at the high school, Tom Casper was at the Area Learning Center, and Yvette Monthaler was at McKinley and the Cannon River Education Center. So I think in the past what we've done, and we can start this way, or I'm open to other ways, is simply to start by asking board members if they have a particular interest or a particular school that they would like to serve on, and then sort of begin from there. Mr. Olson.
I'll give up the middle school, but I would like Lincoln.
Okay. So Richard is interested in serving at Lincoln. Are there other interests?
I would, before I say which school,
Please.
I think it would be good protocol if whatever school we take, we try to attend a staff meeting once a quarter, which would mean once every 3 months type of thing, just to get in there and feel what's going on and you know, show the staff that we're there and we're open to hearing any thoughts or concerns or suggestions, type of thing. I don't think it does any good to have this exercise and never to attend a staff meeting. I just, that to me is a waste of time if we're not going to carry through. So, not that that has to happen, but just my thoughts on it. I would be willing to take the high school. I don't have any kids at the high school, and that way I don't have any kids tied into the school thing. So, unless somebody else wants it, but I'd be willing to take high school.
All right. Well, we'll start by putting your name down for the high school and then see if there's any other strong feelings.
I back Chad on that idea of the staff meetings, and if we could, after we pick our schools to, when their staff meetings are, get their schedule and let them know of Chad's idea.
Mhm.
And we can have more discussion later on of, you know, Chad's idea too, of what to expect.
Well, let me ask for the board as a whole, is there, I've heard a couple of board members express an interest in an idea. Is there an interest in formalizing that idea? Or would board members like the freedom to decide on their own? What are thoughts on that?
Well, I guess I would be interested to hear what the staff have to say about that too. I mean, if they have an interest in us participating, you know, on a quarterly basis, or if there's other events that they, you know, might have us attend in lieu of a staff meeting, you know, invite us to attend. I think those are important too. I guess I don't know if I want to necessarily formalize quarterly attendance until we heard from the staff. I mean, I think it's a great idea to be involved at that level, but I don't know if I'd want to go quarterly necessarily, or require that.
Thank you, Beth.
Throw that out there.
Another suggestion would be, I like Chad's idea, but have Todd add a cabinet meeting, or when he pulls all the principals, you know, what do you think of board members attending some type of meeting, what that is? You know, a staff meeting or whatever. I still like Chad's idea.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I don't disagree with the process. The only caution I would have is, as a board member, you're an individual. You're not there in any other capacity other than an individual who happens to be serving on the board. So if you attend a staff meeting, it's important to recognize that you have no power to promise anything at that staff meeting or anytime you're in the building. No matter, you know, you'd like to walk in there as a citizen, but you are a board member. And I would just caution any of us that attend any function at any school, that you are there as an individual, and only as a collective board can we make decisions on behalf of the district. So I don't disagree with what Chad is proposing, I just put that caution out there.
Caution. All right.
So what is our ultimate goal of assigning a board member to a school then, I guess?
Another area where it comes up, if there is a specific, I know I've had a situation like if there was someone that spoke to a state legislator about an issue, then that state legislator would look to the school board, maybe as a starting point, call you to talk about an issue, and in addition to talk, obviously, but that has come up in the past.
Okay.
It's not common, but that's how I think the legislatures or other officials maybe use this list as a contact.
Okay.
Particular to a school.
Yeah, and I guess the thing I would say about why have a list and assign somebody to each list, we happen to be a school district where we have about the same number of schools as we do board members, which is mostly a coincidence, I guess. To my mind, even if we didn't have this list, we should be getting involved in the schools and be out there. But I think if we were not to have a list like this, we could easily be focusing on one or two schools and not the district. And so I like the idea of a list to make sure that every school has someone who's thinking about that school as the school year goes on. That this, I'm only speaking for myself there in terms of the list. I'm not sure what the original envisioning of this was. I inherited this, but I think it's been a good thing.
It's fairly common.
Yeah. So if memory serves me, Richard has expressed an interest in Lincoln. Chad has expressed an interest in the high school. That's all I've heard so far, I think. Is that true? Okay. All right. Are there other expressions of interest?
I would continue with Jefferson unless you're interested in it. Your kids go there.
Right, but maybe it's better if I,
It's up to you.
and being
Whatever
the
you're
PTO
comfortable.
president there, and,
Oh,
yeah, I think maybe it's better,
Get someplace else.
it goes someplace else probably.
However you feel. I
How
think
Yeah, it's
involved
your
I already
comfort.
am.
board members have felt
So-
different ways about that, and so
Yeah, I think it's good to have
that,
another,
that's something I've always tried to do, is not be at my child's school, but
Yeah.
others have. Deb
Yeah,
often
so-
wanted to be at her son's school,
so I can walk
Oh.
to Jefferson.
whichever way you want to do. So
oh, we live near each other then.
So Jerry's happy to
Yeah,
serve.
I'll
It
stay.
keeps it, so we'll have Jerry at Jefferson. That puts Jerry at Jefferson, Chad at the high school, Richard.
I was gonna say, I can take the middle school, I went to kiddos there for a couple of years, so,
Okay.
yep,
Andrea will be at the middle school.
that works.
So if memory is serving me right, we still are looking for someone at Roosevelt, the Area Learning Center, and McKinley Early Childhood.
I would like to continue at the Area Learning Center.
Okay, so that leaves McKinley, which you served last year, and Roosevelt, which I served at last year. Would you like to stay there or swap? Okay, so we'll stay where we are. So I'll stay at Roosevelt, and Yvette will stay at McKinley. Nicole, would you read that list really quickly for me? Then of who's at each school, and then if that correlates to everybody's memory, we will take action on that item.
Okay. Jefferson Elementary is Jerry. Lincoln Elementary is Richard. Roosevelt Elementary, Jason. Middle School, Andrea. High School, Chad. Area Learning Center, Tom. And McKinley and Cannon River Education Center, Yvette.
That agrees with everybody's memory, then I'll entertain a motion to approve our school assignments as discussed.
So moved?
Do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the school assignments as discussed. All those in, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
I think it would be helpful to follow up maybe at the work session with some ideas. Do you have a cabinet meeting before the next?
Yeah,
work
staff or
session?
generally, they like to see the board members in the schools and make connections, but we can try to set up something. It's easier if you go directly to the principal and set something up.
We just wanted to do that.
That might be the easiest, or Kathy, whichever one you're more comfortable with. And then she can get you the dates for if you want to go to a workshop, or if you want to go to a site committee meeting, or any of those leadership meetings, I think are good, so the staff can see it.
The caution I would add to Jerry's caution, Jerry sort of mentioned that whenever we walk into a school where we're now viewed as board members, and our perception of power is often very different than our actual power, which is something that happens. So to keep that in mind, and then I would also suggest any visits to schools should be announced and planned ahead and discussed. I think staff appreciate visits, but I think they appreciate visits that aren't interfering with their workday and things that they're trying to do.
Check in the office,
Checking in.
visitor pass, do everything else, a normal person.
I think they appreciate sort of the courtesy of knowing when you're going to arrive and checking in with them and not coming in wandering the halls or anything like that. It's not our job to be the police of the school. So I think just trying to show respect in that, and I think that'll be great. Next up is item 1I, consider approval of the Faribault Daily News as the official publication source for the Faribault Public Schools. We are required by law, if I'm not mistaken, to have an official publication for the schools, and so we've always used the Faribault Daily News in that regard. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
No,
Is there any cost associated with that, or is it always through an outside source, or can this day and age with the internet, can you have your own website?
You can.
Be that?
Yeah.
And I just didn't know if there's a cost or
Yeah,
not.
there is a cost, and you can't have your own website.
Yeah, Jason, yeah, there was something at the state, they were going to change that, so it could be on the internet, but I don't think it passed.
It did pass.
It did pass.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is a new change?
Yep,
The
so
last
you could
legislation.
review that.
So we can,
You may want to look at it and review it, just, because traditionally you have been going through the Faribault Daily News.
but it costs, but then we just put this on our website, so, then that's effective now,
It is,
so we don't have to approve this.
as long as you have an approved website, that's part of your, you don't
But
have.
haven't we had accusations that we're not transparent enough
Right.
with the school board? I understand what you're saying about the cost and technology, but
I would just take some time, if you're gonna do it, to investigate it and do what are the pros and cons before acting on it, but you can take a look at that. But I wouldn't do it.
Can
My
we put on
suggestion
this
would not
one,
be to do it.
like 3 months or something, while we look at it?
Well, I think we could approve it and then revoke it whenever we want.
Oh.
I think that that's right, so we don't have to.
Oh, okay, it's not good for a year,
Um,
it wouldn't have to.
Unless you put in the motion.
I mean, I guess we can in the motion put a set number of time on it, and then we'll have to act on it again if somebody wanted to make that motion.
I'd like to
I
make a
guess-
motion that 3 months, and then have Todd check into all the specifics on this.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve this for 3 months. Is there a second for that motion? Okay.
Oh, was there,
Is
did
there a
somebody?
second for that motion? So the motion fails for lack of a second.
And I apologize, I just don't know enough about it, what's the annual cost, and what is forced to be put out there for public notification?
Well, that's why that just 3 months, we're not, if we don't have to, we gotta do something now, so that we can investigate the cost and everything, and then, at the end of 3 months, or even before, we could extend it for the full year, but, if we don't have to spend the money, let's just cut it
Yeah,
out.
I mean, I want to be transparent, but as we move forward technology-wise.
I mean, if it's on our website, why,
Well, the process, you could, at the next board meeting, not have the Faribault Daily News as your official newspaper and vote on that. And then if that passes, then you can set your new parameters. You can do that anytime during the year.
okay.
Okay, so let me make a suggestion 'cause, of how to proceed, given that there's some questions on this item, and up until this year, and I became aware that there's an option as of a few minutes ago, but we need to take an action tonight, because I think our previous action would have only lasted through this year. So it seems like it's appropriate this evening to simply take an action to approve the Daily News in that regard. And then there are some questions involved in cost. And I don't think anyone's prepared at this moment to say what those costs
No,
might be.
I'd have to go back.
And the appropriateness, so I think it's an appropriate work session question for the next meeting, and we can ask Superintendent Sesker and his staff to come up with what those costs are, and maybe a list of what it is that we put in that, what the official, what it means to be the official publication, what things are we putting in it, what are the costs associated with that? And then at the work session, we can weigh some pros and cons, and then if we decide at the work session we want to look at this again, we look at it again next month, and I think we can act on it that quickly if we'd like. Does that feel like an appropriate action?
So we could approve it and then disapprove it next month.
If I'm understanding this correctly, that's what we could do that at any time, so. Does that feel like an appropriate course at this moment, since I don't think we're prepared to answer some of those questions this evening? Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the Faribault Daily News as the official publication source for the Faribault Public Schools.
Subject to a study. No?
That's not the motion I was entertaining. I guess if you'd like to offer your own motion, you can do so.
Okay.
I'll introduce a motion to approve the Daily News as the official publication for the Faribault Public Schools.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? I'll second. So I have a motion and a second. We'll definitely look at this at the next work session. I think it's, there's questions at the table. We have new information that we have other options that we didn't have before. I think it's appropriate to have that discussion. Think about where we're going to go.
I'll just make one comment on my motion, is that we've had a very good partnership with the Daily News. They've been very supportive of everything we want to do in this district. I've been in districts where that relationship is pretty sour, and it's not a healthy environment, so I certainly respect the Daily News commitment to education in the Faribault community.
And, and I'll express at this moment, now that we have a motion on the table, and not to say we shouldn't discuss it, because I think we should have the discussion if there's questions at the table, that I can't imagine that the cost is going to be to an extent that I think we should drop this relationship. I think you can't be too transparent. I don't think the answer is, should we have it on our website or in the Daily News? I think the answer is, we should have it on the website and the Daily News. I think that's what it's going to be. But having said that, there are questions at the table about those costs and what it means. I think we should therefore have a discussion about it, so we will. But that's my sense of where I'll be at that, because I think you can't be too transparent. We will never be accused of being too transparent no matter what we do, so let's not add fuel to that fire, is would be my caution. So we have a motion and a second at the table to approve the Daily News. It's not part of the motion, but we will have a discussion at the next work session on this item, and decide whether or not we want to reconsider it at the next board meeting. Is there any further discussion on this item? Right, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. Consider approval of the local education agency representative. Todd, you'll have to refresh my memory about what this is.
Yeah, we have to assign a person to sign off on programs that are approved through the Minnesota Department of Education, such as our staff development program, our 21st Century grants, all those different things are, they always request an LEA, a local education agent, to sign those documents. In this case, we traditionally use our curriculum director as that person.
And that person is now Colleen Carnudo, but we typically put in the position and not the person, because
Correct.
otherwise we find ourselves
Yep.
having to redo these things when a position changes. So that's why it's listed the way that it is. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So I'll finish the meeting then. Our next item is to adjourn. I'll just finish the meeting by again welcoming our new board members. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for being a part of the discussion. Thank you to everyone for taking the time to go through some of these items that we normally kind of blaze through at these meetings to make sure that particularly for our new board members, that they understand all the committee meetings and such things. I appreciate the time you took to help us all with that. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank